just for people joining us. So on the right-hand side, these are things that are going to likely come up in our discussion today because we've heard teachers comment on them, or we've heard parents talk about them, or we've discussed them like with our coworkers. So we thought we'd have put this up here for like a kind of minds on. Here's some ideas that, or here's something that you might have some successes with, or you may have had some challenges with. So just to kind of get you ready to be thinking about the session, and like maybe you'll share something in the chat that will help other people, or maybe you'll share something in the chat that like will get us thinking about, hey, what can we do about that? So that's just to like help you get prepared. And then the other one is like we're asking just for conversation, just so we can all connect before. What is it that you look forward to at the end of the week? And we've had a few answers. Pam, like saving special shows, and Heather's looking forward to her husband. Alicia, same deal. Adult talk in the house. So anybody
We
got anything?
open a bag of chips on the weekend. Like that is like the, you know, you're at the weekend when we open a bag of chips in our house, and we bought all of everyone's favorite bags. We open one bag of chips on the weekend. It's like, all right, Doritos open first for the boys, and I had my favorite last weekend. My wife's favorite will be coming up this coming weekend, and I try to like sneak a few. Like, why don't we do bags of chips the next day? And my wife's always like, nope, that's a special treat.
That's genius, Ben, because at my house, the kids and Jamie, he came home with like 7 bags of chips from the grocery store the other day. I'm like, why? For one, I have to wipe these down because we're wiping stuff down. I'm like, now I have to wipe down 7 bags, and like, why are we eating that many chips in our house? Like a bag gets crushed a day, I'm pretty sure. It's
That's
disgusting.
amazing.
My
Jen
hero, Jen
Cranberg
never.
bought 7 tubs of ice cream. Wow. Yeah, what?
Is this in the chat?
It's in the chat. The
Oh.
chat's going crazy right now with all the ice cream and the chips.
Okay, Jen,
who
I
has
want to
freezer
know
space for that?
Yes,
I want to know what Jen's favorite ice cream is.
What's that, Sally?
What's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, it's a mix between cookie dough and heavenly hash.
Oh.
And how many freezers do you have?
2. I was having an ice cream craving one night, and it was horrible, and I never wanted to be in that spot again. So when we went grocery shopping, I stocked up, and I may have gotten 4 boxes of ice cream, like the drumsticks too. So I'm putting on the COVID-19.
Oh yeah, the freshman 20.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Pepper peanuts.
Pepper peanuts. I don't know
I
what
don't know
that
what
is. I do know, like I've had what you call them, pistachios. You can get like cracked pepper pistachios that are really good.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't had it with peanuts before, but it sounds good. You can also get like chili flavor pistachios. I've gotten to a pistachio phase.
I love pistachios. Yeah, they're yummy.
Yeah.
It's top of the hour there, Miss
Is
Sally.
it time? Okay, we'll get ready. Okay, I'm just going to close the chat. I'm not going to be looking at that because I'm going to have too many little things on my screen, and I'm going to minimize that so then I have some space.
We'll look on that, right? So keep on chatting away.
Yes,
Okay,
Kate
perfect.
can manage that, and I'll try helping out too.
Okay, so let's go to our first slide. So welcome everybody. We are so excited that you're here, and we're hoping we're going to have a few more people join us. We just want to mention that this session is being recorded, and it might at some point be used to share kind of some ideas or whatever it comes up in the session with other teachers. So just kind of heads up that this is going to be recorded. So this is our junior office hours. Like we are technically in the office like all the time, just so you know. So anybody can reach us at any point, and we are really looking forward to working with everybody to see how we can support you. But this session right here is for us to like just connect once a week on Thursdays at 2 o'clock so that we can, you know, see what's going on. And it's like, it kind of reminds me of like the staff room lunch table. Like, you know, when you like go in, you have a break from all your teaching and you're thinking about, oh, like I had a problem with this and this went really well, and you share those experiences. Well, that's what I'm kind of hoping that this is. I don't know, Pam, about you, but that's kind of where my mind's going, is like, this is all new to all of us. So I'm just hoping that this is a chance for us to like connect and share, because it's new to everybody. Pam?
love that analogy of the lunchroom table, because that's absolutely a place of joy and laughter lots of times, or a place you go to find answers. And actually, I think when we look at our slides today, we were ready for a change of view. So notice our lovely plants in our junior office. We went with a botanical theme. So just wanted to welcome everybody today. But yeah, I like that idea of it's a place just to wonder and question and start thinking about the learning that we're trying to engage our students with. And Kate, how about you?
Hi, yes, sorry, I'm answering a few questions in the chat. I'm enjoying the plant theme. As you know, I like plants and I left one in our office. So I'm kind of sad about that, but they're resilient spider plants. So I'm somewhat hopeful that it might survive.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably quite a few.
It's okay though, because I have a couple at home that have like 1 million babies. So there's no worries. There's no lack of spider plants anywhere around here.
And our pal Gretchen just says she thinks about it every day. So
I know.
I get pretty
right,
attached to my plants, I have to say. If I have to trim them back, I feel guilty. So I hear your pain, Gretchen. Okay, so this is an image of the tundra swans that are landing near Lambton Shores. It was taken from the Lambton Shores Nature Trails website. There are so many parts to the 2 counties that are encompassed within the Lambton-Kent District School Board, and this image captures one of those areas. We would like to acknowledge that the land on which we operate our daily activities and the place we call home is part of the traditional territories of the Chippewa, Ottawa, Potawatomi, and Delaware Nations. If you are connecting with us from outside of these areas, we would encourage you to find out whose traditional territory you are working on or living on. This slide is just telling us who you have here. I think from seeing the participants list, I think you might know us from last week, possibly as well, from the Google Suites and the Seesaw sessions. So Kate is here. She is waving at you there, and she is working on the chat. She's going to be responding to your questions, and she's going to bring them up for us today into the session. Like if you type in this in the chat, and she feels like she thinks that should be something that's asked of the whole group, and so she'll bring that up. Or if you want to respond, she'll be your voice if you would prefer to have it just typewritten. And then she'll also be monitoring, because we would like you to participate. This is your session. Like, it's really not us, it's for you. So if you want to share, like with your voice on the mic, or like turning on your video, when you type into the chat something, an idea or a response or a question, if you just put a Bitmoji at the end, not a Bitmoji, an emoji, any kind of emoji, like a happy face or something, so then Kate knows that that person's willing to be called on to share in the session, because we don't want to make you feel like you know, like you're going to have to be called on if you type in there. We are like looking for you to participate in any way. So if you put an emoji at the end, that means that she might call on you to share with us. Does that sound good, Kate?
Yep, that's perfect. Yes.
Okay. And then Pam is here. She has her video off because she's having a little bit of tech issues. It's slowing up. So she is here though, and you'll hear her voice throughout the session.
I'll wave at you. See, look, I'm like in slow motion today. So that's it. So I'm on a computer today, and I don't have my my emojis popping up for me. So I just did a little old school colon and bracket to say that I'm okay to talk about Seesaw questions. So just if you're comfortable about sharing, if you don't have any, can't find the emoji, just put something at the end there.
Good idea. And then I'm Sally. We have our Twitter handles up there if you wanting to follow us on Twitter or asking questions. That's always welcome too. Share some ideas with everybody. That would be awesome. And then those are our emails if you want to add to this session by sending questions in that you would like to be brought up and discussed. at our table here, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and we have another way too, Sally, with our Google form too. At the end,
That's right.
we'll share. So we'll have a collaborative collection there as well. So, but yeah, that the email connection's fine, but it's also great to share collectively.
Yes, for sure. Okay, so if you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I think that is a great slide for us today and in the last few weeks for what we've been going through. We are all learning to teach from home, and it's a big chore. It's a big learning curve for everybody, and there's been so many little things that you don't think of. So just getting a chance to like connect here and talk about those things will really help everybody, I think. We kind of talked about just how you're going to share in this session. I'm not sure if there's anything else we want to talk about here. Pam, was there
I was
anything
just
else you
thinking
think we
in
should
our
add?
office, we'll have to put this as wall art up in the office in our decorations. But also I was
Sorry,
thinking,
Pam, can you repeat that again? Because you're freezing up.
okay. Sorry, I was just saying it could be the next decoration that we have in our office is to put this as wall art. But yes, and I think we can gather as a strength that we've done a lot together, and it's really important that the more voices we have and questioning and wondering and sharing ideas, the stronger the support for our student learning is going to be. So really excited about hearing people's perspectives. Yesterday, I took part in the kindergarten office hours, and well, thinking about it, I think the chat generated more solutions and ideas than what the three of us presented. We just were revoicing what was coming from the educators. It was awesome.
Yeah, because really this isn't about us answering questions for you. Like we might have some ideas for Seesaw and Google that we can contribute to the conversation, but really it's just like a space where we're opening up so that you all like who are teaching actually from home and in junior division have a spot to like chat about those things. Because like really we don't have the answers either.
And
We're
actually on
working
that
on
note,
it together. Let's do it together. Yes,
Sally, on
okay.
that note, there's someone who has a question already. I don't know if we want to skip to that.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's their session.
So,
let's do it.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So Deborah has said that she is willing to come on here. She has some Google Classroom questions.
Deb,
so
is this Deb Winder?
It is.
Yes, I was chatting with her this morning, and she probably has more answers to the Google Classroom than I do, but I'm hoping that collectively we will have some answers for her. Deb, go for it.
Oh, sorry, and I've already messed up because I assumed that just meant that I'm willing to answer if anybody has questions, as far as I know. But truly,
okay.
Well, sorry, I misrepresented myself there. I just started with Google Classroom, so I have tons of questions, but I'll just sit back and let the conversation start, and I'll jump in if I have any more.
Well, maybe Deb, actually, have you been using Google Meet with your class?
I have. I've actually had a Google Meet every day, starting a couple of weeks ago.
Awesome. Is that with your whole class?
We start in the mornings at 10 o'clock. I do a whole class session. We started off at about half an hour and we've whittled it down. It takes about 15 minutes right now. And then I send them off to do their independent work. And then I do have small group sessions in the afternoon for anyone who needs extra support.
That's great. I have a question here from Diane, a few questions about Google Meet. I wonder if maybe you can help answer them.
I'll try.
She's wondering if you can record the Meet. Do you know if you can do that?
I do not record my Meet sessions, but I have read that you can, that it is an option.
Ben is shaking his head there.
Yeah,
Go
it
ahead,
is.
Ben.
It's just been added into our LKDSB kind of Google functionality. So it's rolling out to most people. So you should have a function now to record the Google Meet, and I'll find a URL and put that in the chat so that Diane has that.
Okay, and then can you also record the chat on the Meet? Is that available?
I'm not sure. I haven't used Google Meet, so I don't know if it's like in Zoom we can like save the file at the end and by clicking on the chat, but with respect to Google Meets, I'm not certain. Does anybody know that answer? Maybe in the chat somebody could post that.
In Google Meets, if you record it, it will show up in your drive about 5 to 10 minutes after. And then you could do with it what you please from there.
The chat?
The chat, sorry, not sure.
So
Oh,
it
Sarah,
will
that's
record
great.
automatically though. Is that what you're saying, Sarah? Like the session will?
So what I've been doing, sorry, it's a little bit different because I don't have participants, but I've been recording myself doing a read aloud. And then showing my screen with the text on it. And then it saves it to my Google Drive, and then I can put it in Google Classroom as for them to listen to after.
And that's on Google Meet.
That's on Google Meet. So that would work if you had participants, but yeah, I'm not sure about the chat. Sorry about that.
No, that's good. Thank you for sharing that. Kate, I'm just gonna escape out of here for a second out of sharing, and I'm gonna flip over to, actually I need to be sharing, but I need to go back in there, and I need to exit out of the slide deck because I want to show this site. It's called Control-Alt-Achieve, and it has Eric Kurtz, and it actually has a lot of good information about Google Meets, Google Classroom. Like, he connects a lot of things to Google Classroom. So it's a good website. It's called controlaltachieve.com. Good website to like get some answers to questions about those things. If you don't, like, we want to ask them in here too, but if we don't have the answer, or if you think of something, that would be a good site to use. I'm just going to go back to the presentation now.
Okay, that's good. I bet a lot of people will use that. I'm also wondering, I wonder if Deb could answer this too, or anyone else who's using Google Meet. Can you use the access code? Can you use the same code for every time, or do you have to get a new code every time you set up a Google Meet?
That's a good question. I set up a new code every single time, but I have heard from others that you can reuse the same code. I don't know if security-wise there's a benefit to creating a new code each time. I mean, it's simple enough to do. I just do it through my calendar, but maybe there's an easier way.
We have both in the chat happening, and I think there is a way you can just use the same one, but the challenge is if that code gets out, then that's I think the security piece. So I think it's just depending on the comfort level of the teacher and of the class. Some people will likely have just kept it the same and use one code. Look, like Mel says that she used one code for math and another for language, so that kind of makes sense as well. So people have organized it different ways. Like, tons of great ideas in this chat right now. I'm like,
that's awesome. And the Google Meet session with Kaylee and Emily that they put on, and that's on the elementary remote learning resource site, that is actually really good because they talk about 3 different ways that you can create those Meet sessions. And one is like an ongoing thing that you can like create a group with your class, and so then it just automatically is there, and it's easy to use ongoing. So if you wanted to go back and watch those sessions, that might be an idea. It's a one session. It's only like half an hour, so it's pretty quick to the point. It's a pretty good session too, so that might help you.
So Sally, a colleague, was sharing the other day that thinking about Google Classroom and having so many kids, and it was overwhelming and not having their voice. So we were talking about what the next step would be. And so in her class, she had already set up like literature circles for learning. And so that was like something that was familiar in their class. And the kids were actually, when they left before March break, were sad that they weren't going to be able to finish the book that they were reading. Yeah. So she was going to start with Google Meets next week based on those literature circle groups, because the norms were already set up for the learning about the book and the conversation piece. And then it was a much smaller group. So she felt that then she could have that connection with the students.
I wonder if this would be a good time, Pam, for Deb to join in and tell us like how she went about like starting that, like the norms for the session of that Google Meet group, like having all those people, all those students in at one time. Like, how did she set that up? And then I'm wondering how those smaller groups are going, because she mentioned doing smaller groups. So Deb, do you mind just joining us and talking about that?
Nope, that works. Well, I learned the hard way, of course, which is generally how I learn. So my first Google Meet session, I had a bunch of excited kids show up, probably 18 out of 27 the first time. and we were talking over each other, and it was chaos. So I quickly established, okay, we need guidelines. And this was before any information had come out, so I was winging it at that point. So basically, we have to have our mute buttons on. I've also downloaded Chrome Grid extension. It's a grid view extension. And I love that for class management, because if you just put that on your Chrome browser, you can see everyone at once. And I actually have them like raising their hands and using like our math talk, our number talk signals and that kind of thing. And that helps. We also have to stay muted at all times. We have a lot of babies crying in the background and parents in and out of the kitchen making eggs and stuff. So that all has to be muted. At this point, I've probably done it 15 times possibly. And I will say they're getting better each time. The kids are taking turns. I'm trying to present lessons. We used my tile floor for coordinate grids. It's working, but there's definitely, you have to put some rules in place before you start.
Yeah. Huh. That sounds like just in the classroom though. When you just said like it takes practice, it reminds me of in the classroom, like I'd set my mind on something that I want the kids to do, and they would do it eventually, but it just takes like sticking with it sometimes. If it's something you know is going to work in the long run, just putting the time in and like teaching them how to manage it.
For sure. And the platform itself, I find, gets a bit laggy. I have regularly now 26 kids joining in. And I find when I go to present information in a large group, it is a bit laggy. When I go down to my small group meetings, the present feature works a lot better. It's definitely less sophisticated from what I can see compared to this Zoom. It's more basic from what I'm using anyway, and from what I can see. The chat is also another thing. I've had to set parameters to turn the chat off unless it's relevant, because the kids will take over with hi, and doing silly stuff. So that's another rule. I've made up a list of rules actually. So that's all set now. We're better at it.
That's nice.
Like I've been in your classroom over the years, and like I know that's something you've really worked on, is that community environment. And so as we sit back and reflect, like teachers have worked since September on building that community, building those relationships with kids. And I bet you it's pretty comforting to them to come back to those community standards or those expectations. Those, when I put my thumb up during the number talk, I know I'm going to be hurt, like the teacher knows I'm ready, like I'm being seen. So I think, all those little things that we worked on since day one is there a way we can reincorporate this into the distance learning that actually makes us come together a little closer?
That's exactly true. And I say to them, this is just like our classroom, and the same rules apply, and we need to be respectful. And I find that it's really come along just in this short couple of weeks together. It has improved drastically from the first one. And I always go on, this is my other thing, my other deal I've made with them, that I always set our meetings for 10 o'clock every day, but I go in 10 minutes early, and that's just our chatting time. And they love it. They're always all sitting and waiting, sometimes 15 minutes before, and they just want to talk to each other. They just want to connect. And I can tell that is the reason they're there, and the normalcy of it, the routine of it. They love it. I know they do.
And you know what, Deb, that reminds me of something that Kate said, and like we put this on here on this slide, the challenges and successes of teaching your own children. Like it reminds me of Kate was talking about her kids at home, like her own personal children, needing like a connection, like missing like being with their peers and like that social interaction. So that's definitely like, Kate, I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit more, and like, but like definitely is like sounds like, Deb, it's like a support for those kids. Thank you for sharing that.
I was, I have a variety of age groups in my house, but my my little kids have not had Google Meet sessions yet. And Deb, you teach what grade again?
I'm grade 4-5.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, maybe a bit older, and I'm not sure if that's why their teachers haven't set it up or whatever the variety of reasons. So they're really into the kids' messenger app right now, so my phone is constantly on dead battery because of that. But they just love that face-to-face. But then my daughter, who's in grade 7, has been doing Google Meets, and she has been loving it. But then on the side, she has put she herself and one of her good friends have started like study buddies, and they meet every day at 11:11 because they know what their posted work is, and they just like sit with each other. And sometimes I go in and they're not even talking. They're just sort of like, she's there and I'm here, and you can see each other. And I think it's just kind of nice for them to sort of just be together and complete their work. So it's been good that way to just have that connection, I think. I was also interested in your small groups that you were talking about. Did you say that you do a Google Meet in the afternoon as well? Is that what you said?
Well, I've just started that, actually, having small group options, and I have an amazing resource teacher, Mrs. McLaughlin, yay, Amy, she has been willing to come on. I also have an EA in my room some of the time, and she took a group today. So they stepped up and asked, like, would you like us to come in and help with some of the kids? So I've given them small groups. So I just kind of checked in today to make sure everything was on track, and it was great. And she was helping them with their science experiments that are due tomorrow. So she was just kind of doing some troubleshooting with them about some of their experiments and making sure their method was written up correctly. So it was just nice to have that backup. The other thing I'm finding with the Google Meets is we always start with like an opener, like a would you rather or a share a moment kind of thing, just like you would for a morning meeting. And the kids, I know they look forward to sharing that and just continuing that sense of community. It's just a familiarity for them that they don't want to miss it. If I go and try to get right into the work portion of it, nope, they back me up. No, it's not. I'm going to be sharing first. So, well, that's awesome. They keep me real, keeping it real in grade 4, 5.
Nice.
For sure.
Kate, I don't know how the chat's going, but I was thinking like some other challenges and successes of teaching your own children. Like we had a question yesterday that somebody was trying to figure out for a friend's child, and like it was teen, Jana and I were like, there was a few others in the chat, but we were really like, oh, this, that, and then we realized after, like, that wasn't even what the question was asking. And so we're like, if we're getting confused as teachers, oh my goodness, parents are probably getting confused. And so like we're like, well, what could be some things to like help parents at home?
You know what? That's interesting you brought that up, because in the chat, people are talking about making videos in a few different ways. Diane is talking about using Screencastify as a powerful tool, she says, and she highly recommends that maybe we share with others how to do that. There's lots of tools that you can record yourself, but I know that that's helpful for kids to sort of get that real teacher voice involved. And then Scott was talking about some stuff's going on. He's talking about how he makes videos in Seesaw and then has the kids watch them in Seesaw and then go flip back to Google Classroom and answers in Classroom. And I think he's wondering about, is there a way to save the videos in his Google Drive? And I don't know if maybe Pam might know about that, because she's sort of well-versed in Seesaw life.
From Seesaw over, like transferring that video recording from Seesaw over into his Google Drive, is that what he's asking?
Yeah, because I think, and Ben asked him this question in the chat, is that I think he must be using some of the really cool tools in Seesaw.
Like the whiteboard to write and show and then record.
And then there's emojis or, you know, lots of really good manipulatives, I guess you could use in there. And then he must, you know, he kind of wants them to have it in one place. It would be great. And if you could do that, I can see him, I can see the benefits of doing that. I'm not sure how you do that.
Does Pam have an idea?
I was just thinking about how the junior teachers really are the ones that are smashing Seesaw with Google Classroom, like trying to find the best of everything. And I find that really fascinating. Just even like one thing I've been struggling about working from home is the management of material, like information, like where are things being stored. So I find that interesting that, you know, maybe Seesaw is the place that you keep for the instructional path and the videos, because it's so easy to create. but then the work is done in Google Classroom. Like that, I think that might be interesting for your students to do.
All
As
right,
far
so
as
I've been playing here, Pam.
yes.
So I have a solution for
Oh, neat.
Scott.
Yeah.
So when I've been into a couple classrooms that use Seesaw. So I'm wondering, Scott, if you're able to post whatever, maybe to a sample student, and then there's 3 dots that are in each post. And if you do that, you often will get a save function. So then you're able to save things. So I just saved a video file that was in one of our teachers' classrooms to test this, and I was able to save the video file. So then I could take that video file, then I could upload that into Google somehow,
Yeah, into
and that would
Drive. Yeah.
likely work like a charm. I get why people want to use really simple tools that they're
Yeah.
comfortable with. That's one of our key principles for remote learning is start with familiar before we add in lots of things. So if you're comfortable in Seesaw, if we can do that, then click the 3 dots, save, should save as a video. Even the audio, I was actually saving as audio files, and then we can upload those things into Google Classroom. So I feel like I'm the tech guy, and I just keep Googling things the whole time that we're chatting. I love this.
Absolutely.
I'm going to go quiet again,
Okay.
and I'll take my cue from Kate as normal.
Ben, I'm wondering where the best place is to make a video on Seesaw then.
So with Seesaw, you have lots of options. So if within the app, you can make a 5-minute video. And so if you're just thinking about your purpose. So I was working on one for like doing a read aloud, and it was 3 questions, one of my favorite books. And so I introduced the book using the Seesaw video app. And I guess I'm just practicing with my pretend classroom. So introducing the book, like almost like that pre-book talk, like, and so what do you think the 3 questions were, and like focus on predicting skills. But then when I actually went back to read the book, I figured it was going to take me about 15 minutes to read the book. So I'm like, well, one, Seesaw wouldn't work because it was too far. But then I said I could use my device, record me reading it, and then use it as a link. So that would work. But then I thought, who wants to listen for 15 minutes and listen to a story? And I thought from the teaching perspective, I probably wouldn't do that in my classroom anyway. I would probably read a third of the book one day and have some language activities about, like, you know, talk about characters, pause, give a literacy conversation or an assignment to do. And then the next day came back and read the next 5 minutes of the video. So I chose to do a combination of that. So I think it's all about like the intention and how you want kids to use it. So what was nice is that basically then from one book, I had 4 literacy activities to do. And that, you know, so if we think about our only having 5 hours a week of learning for students, like that kind of paced my week out on paper, and thinking about doing that, and the kids would have opportunities to respond to that. So I think, again, so to summarize in Seesaw, if you want to do a video, you think about your purpose for why you're trying to use that.
I think what I'm hearing though is it's interesting in the chat. By the way, it's Christine, not Scott.
Oh.
It's under her husband's name. I just read that. Okay, so sorry about that, Christine. I feel like everybody in the chat, it's really great to hear that teachers are finding ways to connect with students, to either teach, because I think everyone's kind of over the or getting used to the tools, right? And I feel like now they're like, okay, I've got to connect with my class, and they're doing that via like Screencastify, Diane is really liking, or Christine's using the Seesaw video, or people are just meeting like Deb is with her class in Google Hangouts. And I think that these are all really great ways to connect with your students, right? And do some teaching, I guess.
And I also think too that with the video or your voice recording of instructions, think about that at a home level. Like a kid can hear your voice over and over and over again. So if they can probably problem solve a lot better, or rewatch the video. Like that's probably alleviating a lot of tensions of like, I don't understand these instructions. Having them read to you or a video explanation of it probably will help calm some nerves, help some parents understand what you're asking. So using all those features that are offered within like the Google Suite, like I know Read Write for Google, and like within Seesaw, they're built in. You can always voice record your instructions.
So I've got something to share for Christine. Sorry, Christine, I didn't mean to call you Scott. I was thinking I was being very personal and messed that one up. So you can use the whiteboard. I just did it in our test school we have set up in Seesaw. You can write and talk, all those things, and then you can download it, and it's a weird format. It's a .webm, but that format is a Google format, which is great. So you can upload that into your Google Drive or into a place like that. Then you can share that link. So that whiteboard that you've recorded becomes a video that's shareable with Google Classroom. So it's those three dots, click Save As. It's a weird one, webm.webm, but you can upload that file to Google and it knows it's video, and it's right now converting mine to a video to play that for us. So good news, you can absolutely use Seesaw as your tool.
And that sounds so simple, Ben, just to be able to like click those three dots and then save and then upload it. Like that sounds like a pretty simple process. So that's really great. I really like how somebody was just saying, like, you know, listening, like being able to re-listen to things, like having that repetition, like going, like it's basically learning at their own pace, right? When they have the videos. So I think that brings us into that learning versus reinforcement, like new learning versus reinforcement. So when we're saying reinforcement, we mean like practicing of content that they already know. They've already learned that, right? And then there's new learning. And so like, how does that new learning take place? And like, you know, what are people thinking with respect to that? That new learning is like going to take longer for sure. It's going to be harder because you're not right there with students. And I think about the parents at home, like I've heard many parents talking about like, how do I do this? Somebody sent me a picture of like, it was like a number in a bracket and then another number in the bracket. Like, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's multiplying. Like it's just some little things that like parents aren't used to seeing, and then sometimes us as teachers aren't used to seeing. Like it depends, right? So how do we help parents, and how do we, like, how much new learning we're doing, that kind of thing? Is anybody commenting on that, Kate, in the?
No, it doesn't seem to be. I am wondering that too, like how much is new learning? Because we don't have classrooms, it's hard for us to sort of understand what that's like, right? And we all know that there's stuff we have to get through this year. And I wonder that, like, I wonder if that's a question we could throw out to the participants here. Like, is it new learning, or is it sort of you're revising stuff? Like, what are you guys doing?
To me, in my mind, I don't think there's, like, it would be really challenging to teach everything that is left for the year. Like, in this context, like, it's like picking out those really big things that are going to be essential. And if you're going to spend time on new learning, like, how do you go about that? Because maybe we're not all in that place to be doing new learning. To me, I don't know, like
well, and
Deb is sharing, like, she's doing those Google Meets, and she could do some new learning in that type of context. But like, how else can you do it? Like, creating some videos and doing that to help the students understand. But like, not everybody's at that place, right? Like, some people are still just getting familiar with this, like doing this on a platform, like using a platform like this, right?
And in the chat, Sally, sorry, Deb. I think one of the challenges that people are finding is they don't have a huge percentage of their class that are online, you know, that are doing things on a regular basis. And so I'm gathering from that.
That's maybe the challenge.
Yeah, I'm gathering from that maybe it's not really a lot of new learning then. Like 9 out of 27, 9 out of 24. I know a friend of mine had like 3 out of 18 or something. It was kind of silly. So maybe that's the case. Deb, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, the first week we were officially off, I spent that week trying to get a hold of all my families. I still have another platform. I always used Class Dojo in the past, which I'm now trying to wean off of. So I do have that platform open still. So I was able, thank goodness, at the beginning of the year, everyone signed up for it, and I use it a lot. So it was easy to connect with the parents and say, hey, we're moving over to Google Classroom. It's taken a lot of phone calls, a lot of my resource teacher trying to make phone calls, my principal making phone calls, and now I can honestly say I do have everyone on, and with the exception of one student, everyone's on the Google Meets every day. So I felt like, okay, now is a good time. I mean, it depends on the unit you would want to teach to. I mean, I was doing 2D geometry transformation. So I thought this is new learning for everyone. And I think we can get coordinate grids in by playing some games. It seemed to be an easy starting point. So it took a lot of videos and that I made myself. I've said earlier, I literally used my tile floor and showed the movement on that, and then they sent me things back. So I think new learning is possible if you have everyone signed in, but that's the problem if you don't have a lot of kids. Like I read that too, 9 out of 20.
Yeah, that's a challenge. But you've made some really good points, Deb, about like how like you went about it. Like it wasn't easy for you at first. Like you had to do a bunch of things to get those students connected. And I'm thinking like there's probably other factors at play for those parents at home that aren't connected.
And that's exactly what Jen Kranenberg is talking about in her role as a VP. She has spent a lot of her time troubleshooting with parents, I think. And so I think going back to Sally, what you were saying at the beginning of this session, that we really still need to remember that parents are, like, it's a struggle at home. I know for me, I'm an educator and I'm still struggling, right? And I think I know these platforms. So I can only imagine that it's a lot for other people.
And what we're hearing is about 50% of your class, like 9 out of 20. That's great. Like that is great. That means that we're seeing that's a very common ratio around the 50%. If you're over 50%, it's truly remarkable. And I think for all the reasons Kate shared as well with the challenges that is. I was sharing with the team a little earlier today that my children are basically left to their own devices all day. They're they've got two
like
parents
everybody
who
has
are we all have our jobs and we're all
Yeah.
working, right? And it's like, we check in for lunch and it's like, hope you're working, kids.
And
So
they're
I know that's a
junior age
challenge with
too, right,
many.
Ben? Are they junior age?
Grade 5 and grade 7, yes.
Yeah.
So Sarah has made a good point that I think I could bring up here, and she's talking about, I don't think she's doing this yet, but she's thinking, I'm just going to read it here. It says, it's a challenge to get the ones who aren't participating to participate. And then she says, the ones that need the extra time or extra help, right, is usually the case. And this could actually be really good use of small group meets, like Google Meets or something, which may be more manageable, right? If you're trying to meet with a small group and just focusing on them for a couple of days or a day.
Like to start small too, like if you're a little unsure of that platform, starting with like say, hey, on Monday I'm meeting with these 4 students, and then start that way.
And I even think in the classroom, we would leverage those relationships students have between each other.
Yeah.
Right? So like, if you weren't joining, Kate and I would say, Sally, come on with us. Like, we're going to meet with the teacher at 9:30 tomorrow. Come with us. Like maybe your students, you have those relationships already established. So as a teacher in the classroom, you can say like, I'm going to have a small little group and maybe I can get some help from our students.
Mm-hmm.
Can I highlight
go
a question
ahead,
in the room that kind of relates to that,
yeah.
which is for those who are struggling and the challenge. But Gwendolyn said, like, not exactly tech related, but for people who haven't done things so far or haven't engaged yet. So I was thinking about that similar with the challenge, but like we have some families that are just getting their devices right now. So do they have to catch up on all the things before and then do all that? I think it's a similar type thing, which is I think we need to keep modifying those expectations for those students and trying to reach out to where they're at, because we have some families who are just getting devices and just getting underway now. We feel like it's been happening for 2 weeks, but they may just be getting in at week 3. So, the 5 hours a week still stands in that regard as well.
Yeah. And I think like there's a lot of factors at play that are influencing the dynamic of a child actually being in the classroom. So like I think about like, here's a teacher and say this is the spectrum of like tech skills. There's a beginning and then there's here, right? And like the teacher's going to be somewhere in here. And then if you think about like at home and what's going on in their availability of tech, who's using what device when, who can access the internet at what time, because there's all these competing demands, and then how much, what's going on in the home, like parents are working or whatever's happening, right? Like there, and like the amount of support each individual child needs. It's like the teacher has got like a complicated path to like make the connections where it's going to work for each child, and like how do they do that? That's a challenge, and it can be really time consuming. I'm thinking about like that bullet down here, the communicating with parents, and like it's like it's like teachers are having to like take on this new role of like more parent communication so that they can figure out how this is going to work. And like I think if just a phone call to parents like would give the information about what's happening with that family. Or like Deb, she did a survey of her class, and like on Google Forms, which Pam's going to show us at the end because we have a Google form for you. But the information that it was so clear to Deb about what was working and what wasn't from the results of that survey, then she was able to adjust her, like what she was doing in the classroom to make it work. But you can't do that survey unless you have the online connection with the family, right? So it's like that phone call and like seeing what's going on for those families, because there's every house is experiencing different stuff.
Yeah, I wonder about that. Like, have people, again, not having a classroom, it's hard for me to sort of feel your shoes, but I wondered, like, have people reached out to their parents just to see, not even just to make the connection, but maybe just to see how the workflow is? Like, is it too much? Is it too little? Like, is it just right? Like, how are they understanding what I'm sending? Like, has anyone sort of got that information? Or
so at the end of the first week of full virtual learning, online learning, I did send out the survey that Sally mentioned, and I tried to make it really specific. So I think the feedback was loud and clear. I was getting one parent in particular, you know, there's always one. And she was saying, oh, it's taking my child over 4 hours to do this work. And I'm looking at the work and thinking, oh my goodness, like to me, it should take half an hour, but I get that there's all kinds of things at play. So when I polled the parents, it was good for me to hear that there were only 2 parents and their buddies saying it took over 4 hours to do the work. The bulk of them, well, you can see, there's the survey. So you can see the bulk of them were saying it was taking 1 to 2 hours. So for this week, I scaled it back again. Next week, I think I'll tweak it yet again, and I might do a smaller version of the survey this week. Like I want the parents to feel like they do have a voice in this and that their input is valued, because it really is. I want to know if I'm pushing too hard. So
And
I think I'll keep doing this.
I think these questions, Deb, that you asked, like even though these were sent electronically, I think they're good questions that like good conversation starters for when like you're making a phone call home, because it really gets the feel for what's going on for the family, and like then you can adjust, right? So just some of the questions here, I don't know if anybody's been reading them, but like
they're a
how
bit
long
blurry. They're blurry, Sally.
Oh, okay. I'm going to read them then, okay? So after our first week of virtual learning, did you find the workload manageable? Like, is child able to complete the work in approximately 1 hour per day or 5 hours per week? Would you prefer more or less work? And so the orange is the same, the red is less, and the blue is more. The next one is, how long on average is it taking your child to complete the work assigned? And then the green is 4 hours per day. The orange is 3 hours per day, the red is 2 hours, and the blue is about 1 hour. If it's taking your child more than 1 hour to complete the work, what is the reason for this? I think this is like the best question, because it's not just like we're assuming it's hard. Well, it could be other things. So the blue means too much work has been assigned, or the red is the child's not familiar with Google Classroom, so it's a tech issue. The orange is the child is too distracted and uncooperative at working at home. Like, so just it's the environment. Or no skills with computer, either slow internet or not enough devices in the home. Is that what that says there, Deb?
I don't think it says no skills. I think it just said issues.
Oh, issues with computer. Okay.
So there was no one that clicked that, which was great news to me, because
Yeah.
that was before the devices went out. So I only actually had one family that received a device, so that was good. But you can see that, yeah, distractibility and unwillingness to work at home played big there, which
I
doesn't.
think that's a huge problem happening at home.
It is a huge
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, because they're at home. That's not where they normally work. And yeah, it's hard. So would you prefer to have work due dates moved to the end of each week and not daily due work? And so the blue was yes, the red was no, and the orange was maybe. And is this the parents and students answering these questions? Like, so they have one representation from the family and student?
I just put this was a parent-student survey. So I don't know who filled it in, although there were more questions than this. I think there were about 11 questions altogether, and there was a comment section that I didn't include there. But the comment section was interesting as well. So I could kind of tell by the comments, some of them signed their names to it and others were anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
So that helped me to see where we were. We were exactly.
Look at this one here.
Like
it says
17 families responded.
That's nice because it helps guide you, right? And then you can be responsive, right? So did you find Google Meet sessions helpful? What would an ideal schedule for the number of Google Meet sessions be in a week? This says the class, they're saying daily. Some were saying Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then others were saying Tuesday, Thursday. So it's kind of just like a preference thing. This was like, are the sessions helpful? Yes. Look at that, all the blue. And then this
I
was
might
100%.
just pipe in here, Sally, because I think this is really valuable stuff. But I just want to confirm, like in the chat, Jenny H is saying that she also got some feedback from her families, and it's almost like mimicking this data.
Is it?
It was taking the kids were taking too long, and that the kids loved the videos the best, you know? So
yeah,
it's interesting that even two people are finding the same kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And I think there was a question too about how to send this survey out. So anytime you make a survey on Google Forms, you can get that link that you can just put in an email if that's your communication. Or if you're using Seesaw, you can put that in as a link so families can have that added to it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some people are asking for a link to these kinds of questions. I'm wondering if maybe we can, like, I'm sure everyone has their own kind of ones, but we could maybe come up with some generic questions you might want to ask your parents. What
or
do you think?
could we take we could take Deb's questions and maybe post them? Like, I don't know, Ben, would that be something we could post somewhere? Ben?
Sure. Sorry,
Okay.
I was muted. I was unmuted
I figured
forever. Didn't realize, and I'm like, I gotta
stuff.
get myself unmuted. If Deb, if you're
we
willing,
share
we'd be happy to share that. I think what we could do is maybe put it. So where we could put it is in the remote learning resources webpage. There's a program support, and I think there's a. If there isn't, yes, there is a junior thing, so we could put them in there. There's a junior section, so why don't we put them on the junior remote learning support page?
You have that page up, Sally?
I don't, but I can easily put it up. So what Kate was saying too there was like, could we add to those questions? So if Deb sends them in, and then we can, like, if anybody else has something that they think that would be good that they've used that we could compile, that would be awesome. So I'm going to the site that Kate's asked for. So if we go to the blog, it's the first link there, you click it. And then where you want me to go, Kate? Program support under junior?
I think that's what Ben said. Ben? Yeah, that's where it would be.
So under here, we could post those questions.
I like that idea because I was thinking we're learning so much from each other. Like it's almost like, is this like a category? We learned from each other.
Yeah.
We tips from passwords.
Tips from like junior teachers.
I also think that a survey is a great idea. As a parent of 4 children, I don't want to be filling out 4 different surveys that are 20 questions long. So I really feel like
small. Yeah.
You know, I'm already like sweating. I'm sweating just thinking about it and going, oh my gosh, not more time on the device. So just keep that in mind, please.
Yes, from the data collection side of things, like 4 questions is, pretty good. But I also think about the advantage of using a form is that as a teacher, you're only going to get the responses to the form to go to a spreadsheet or like an image like Deb has there, rather than 27 emails from families and trying to collate all that. The form does the work for you. Yeah. So I think that's a really valuable thanks for that live example, because it's really great to see how it can summarize down to what are the big important issues.
And
Kate,
I also, oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, Kate, are you okay? There's concern in the chat about Kate's well-being now.
I'm sorry. I'm yelling at my kids in the background who are knocking on my locked door.
Yeah.
And I can hear my
We
dog.
thought it was the survey, so we were like,
No,
oh boy, the
that's not
survey has just put this out. Okay.
Next time I won't mute. I'm yelling at them. You can get the real vision.
I just wanted to say I did share the survey results with my parents as well, because
I
want
love
them
that.
to see how they were all feeling, right? I just think it makes them all feel like they're in the same boat, or see how their experience is going compared to the others. I think it's important. So that
Just
did go out.
Way of building that community that you've worked hard all year in developing, right? Just showing that we're all in this. Lovely.
Kate, are there any other questions from the chat, or anybody give any suggestions that maybe we could just bring out here? I know there's a few things that we, go ahead.
People are really liking the survey idea. That's been sort of the gist going forward. There has been a few questions, if I go way back here, about, but they're kind of not really for the group, I would say.
Okay,
not really ones that I need to share. Yeah, okay. Just easy, quick answer ones.
So just one more thing. That online corner up here, like the online care, protecting privacy and promoting engagement, that was one thing that I was thinking about, like maybe like we're talking about like kids joining in and like maybe not participating in the online situation, whatever, if it's a live thing. Maybe it could be just like they aren't comfortable like having their face. Like it took me a long time to feel like relaxed here in this type of like, here I'm talking to these people I can't see. Like that's could be just a comfort level for some kids. So like what about like just allowing them to turn off their camera, or maybe it's the background, like they don't want to share their home, like it's private, right? Like maybe it's something like that. Like who knows? Like I think we need to just reach out, and I don't know, because there's so many factors that can just be influencing what's going on and why kids aren't connecting.
Absolutely. I'm just looking at our time, Sally. It's 2:54. Okay. So
I'm going to go to the next slide then.
There we go.
So here is these sessions. So if you're chatting with anybody in your school, I know you're going to be interested in attending our junior. It will be again next week at 2. But if you're chatting with anybody from any of these other divisions, Monday's intermediate, Tuesday's primary, Wednesday's the FDK, and then tomorrow, French immersion, FSL and ELL are at 11 o'clock. And there's the Zoom and the password. They're the same for every session. So just if anybody's interested, if you want to share, like really this, like, I feel like we've done a lot of talking, but like the ideal goal in my mind is that it's just a place for like junior teachers to share ideas so that it makes it easier for everybody.
I should mention too that a little while back, some people were just sharing about how it was during the time we were talking about creating videos and stuff. And I think the ones up here, some of them have had a lot of, and this isn't to say that like the numbers are telling everything, but some of the successes that they've had when they've had lots of kids join is that they've gone really slow with everything like that they're doing. Yeah,
like just a fun. Like
yeah, some of it is fun, and some of it is, I think it was Julie who said she had started a narrative, but it was literally like write the first paragraph. I think that was what she did for about 3 days, you know. So it is okay to go slow. And I think that it's tough for us, right? Because we know that we can get so much accomplished when it's at school, but it is okay just to go slow.
Yeah, it's not the same that way. Yeah, it's not the same. It just won't happen like that, unfortunately. So yeah, I think like how Deb has that chat time, like that just like connect time, like that's a nice time. Like everybody needs to connect, and so maybe starting there just by having that. Did you want to say something, Deb?
Oh no, I was just saying that's why they're there. They're not there to listen to my coordinate group. They're there to talk to each other, and that's the lure, right? That's how they're in.
Yeah, the carrot. Okay, so we have this site. I'm going to, it's not a site, actually, it's a Google form, and I'm going to stop sharing because Pam is going to share here in a second what this form looks like. But if you want to take a picture of this right now or screenshot, it's the QR code or it's the bit.ly that's going to take you to this form that Pam has created for us, because we want to make sure the session is about you and what you want to talk about. So that's just your chance to share. And I'm going to stop sharing, and Pam's going to take over so she can share share what that form looks like. It's really easy.
There we go. Yeah, so we were really, basically our first office hours, we were really thinking about, this is a guess, what people want to talk about. So we thought, well, moving forward, we want to have people's voices in this. So we created a Google form. So we'll go back to the QR code and the bit.ly again, but I thought I'd just actually complete the form right now. So Junior Division Office Hour Wondering, please share your questions, ideas, and/or suggestions so that we can work together to support remote learning for junior students. The content collected will help focus the discussion during the next Junior Division Office Hour and help to develop future professional learning opportunities. So for example, I was thinking today, there was something about video, like technology of using. So I'm going to click on that. I could click literacy, numeracy, Google Suites, Seesaw, communication with families, assessment, curriculum content. So select one of those. If it's not there, just click other. And so it's like making videos was something that we were wondering about today. You can put your name down there as optional, because maybe you're going to put making videos and you'll say, I'll lead.
Yeah, or just
And
to show an example, right? Because there's so many ways to do that. So
exactly. Oh, I don't know why that must be a number. I'm gonna have to edit that. I didn't answer my own survey before we started. So then I will submit that. And then what happens to that? Oh, I'm gonna back that out because it didn't like a number. I'll edit it before we send it out. So you can edit your response, or you can submit another response because maybe you have two ideas, and so you put that up. So what happens with the Google form, which many of you, I'm sure you know, we can get the responses. So this is what Deb did when she asked questions. So hers developed, and this gives the summary. So Google Forms does the work for you. It says, so 100 people thought it was a good idea to do technology question, making videos, I'll lead, and I'll change that so it's the name. But then also you can look at that via a spreadsheet. So this is what, if you're thinking about organizing your life, so then we'll be able to look down and say, we have a lot of questions about technology, so we'll focus the conversation on that next week about that. Or maybe we're getting lots of numeracy questions, and we'll make sure we make time for that. So I'm going to go edit that question right now. How about that?
So I like that you pointed, like the one comment that you made there was like making videos, because I think that's a common thread that's being heard throughout the other two sessions. So we've had 3 sessions now of office hours, and we're hearing that that's a common thing. Like making a video could be from like somebody videotaping you using your iPad and then just uploading it. You can use your like window as a space to write on if you need something like that. Or it can be like a Screencastify, which is actually really simple when you use it. And it could be a range of things, right? So like I think that would be a great session that would be useful.
Right. So but the purpose is gathering teacher voice. So please.
Pam, do you want to? Sorry, do you want to go back to the presentation and we'll just go to the end slide because it's 3 o'clock now, and we'll just say thank you.
I'm going to go back to our bit.ly thing. So we'll close on that one. How about that? So people can get the.
Yeah, so they can, yeah. So there's, whoa, there we go. full screen. There it is. So if you want to join or add in, like we really would like to make sure this is about you. And I feel like we've talked a lot. So like next time, like my number one goal is going to be like try and hear from you. Like thank you so much for participating, Deb, and sharing your ideas. I know that's like helped everybody out. And so next time I hope junior teachers, you invite other junior teachers to come and hopefully share or continue to share in the chat, which it sounds like it was dynamite. I missed out on that part because I can't do two things at once, but maybe I'll be on the chat next time and I'll get to see that.
I think Ben likes the
So thank
chat
you.
monitoring. That's his new thing. He's good at the tech chat.
Yes, he's
tech
doing
chat.
great
I
at
feel like
it.
the tech guy. I'm just helping. I'm learning. I learned how to take that from
It's been
Seesaw,
good.
throw it in
It's
the
been
Google
good.
Classroom. Hey, I appreciate everybody's efforts. It's really fantastic what's happening for our kids, and it's really inspiring. So thank you. Thank
Thanks
you
so much. Hope
for
the
the
bucket is full.
team.
Feel good.
Kate, Deb, Sally, Pam.
See you
Thanks.